Welcome to Sovereign Alignment, the Awakening.
Claim your power to create your own reality. Be empowered to manifest your dream and live in a vibrant, healthy body.
Join us for this podcast every week for support and inspiration.
Hello, everybody. Today we are here to talk about what it's like or why we are losing friendships in our lives right now. What's going on in the world? When we have people moving in and out of our lives, you may meet new people you never thought you'd get along with. You may be losing people out of your life that you thought would always be there, whether they're friends or family members. Our relationships with our coworkers and our friends are changing.
Yeah, and I think it's, we all have our own opinion of what we believe. And it seems like when there's so much energy going on in the world, and I think, don't you think that it's part of it's like there's this huge surge of energy, and there's just a lot going on out there. And we all have beliefs and things that we want to express. And we're expressing them, especially with family members, because that is the people that we trust and the people that we think should understand. But what we're seeing, in some of my clients, I've seen that they're expressing there's some concern around losing those friendships. People are defriending people on their social media platforms. There's family members not speaking to each other. And a lot of this, and we talked about this in the squeeze a little bit, because it is about us really transforming a lot of the beliefs that we've been trained to believe are true. And it's changing as we're evolving spiritually. Those beliefs are changing, and it's changing for everyone. And it's allowing people to go through that process and knowing when, I think, to maybe be able to go, I understand what you're expressing, and letting them have their opinion, even though you may not agree because you're in a different space.
Right.
But that's okay. So it's knowing that even though these people are in a different space than you are, and I know how you're passionate about things, especially with a lot of things that are going on out there. And a lot of people are uninformed, I think, as to really what's happening. And they're learning that process. And, sometimes it's just like dropping a little hint and going, hey, maybe why don't you go check this out? And not really pushing your beliefs, because they're your beliefs. And they may not be somebody else's, but you have to be able to know, I think, when that you are able to explore them with other people. And it's more, what we're finding is more of it's a drip feed. I mean, it's more of like giving them a little bit and giving them a little bit and then backing off. And allowing them to process. This is a huge processing time.
Well, and there will be some people that you will never be able to have these kinds of conversations with. And I find that the more those of us who are on the active ascension plan, those of us that are increasing our vibration constantly, we're always trying to level up, we're always working to bring our vibration higher and higher and higher, you will also just naturally see, it's like they vibrate out of your experience, they vibrate out of your existence. Because you are constantly moving up and growing and expanding. And that frequency, that vibration, that energy becomes uncomfortable for other people sometimes. So they may react to you in a way that you never expected before. And it's not really because they have changed. It's because you have changed. You are growing and you are expanding and you are creating and vibrating in a higher dimension than you ever have before. And that's really unnerving for a lot of people, especially when they expect you to be and act and think in a certain way.
Well, and I think we need to hit on that point a little bit, is that we are ascending and not everybody's going to go with us. And that's okay. It's okay because we're all on a path and it's our path and they're on their path.
They'll get there.
Yeah. And it's understanding that and knowing that we can't drag everybody with us, even though we'd like to. And that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to ourselves and to vibrate at our highest frequency of our own essence. And that frequency will help them vibrate at their highest frequency. So it always goes back to self. I say this all the time. It starts with you. And you have to be the vibrational experience that you want to experience around you. So you have to raise your vibration. Now, does that mean that some people will vibrate out of your experience? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's going to happen, but that's okay. So how do we deal with that when that happens? So that's all, again, here. It's all the thought.
It's in here.
Yep. It's your heart. It's what am I feeling? And expressing that, being able to go, I'm feeling this. And that's okay. It's being okay with the expression of the feeling. Because we came here to experience all of those things. To express ourselves and to be able to identify with the emotion that we're having. And that's how we're creating our experience.
Yeah, and there's not a judgment about others. That's where I find that we get hung up sometimes, is why can't they keep up? Why don't they understand? And it's not about them. It really isn't. It's about you and your experience. And just hold them in a place in your heart of compassion and understanding and being the example that you wish to see. I mean, that's kind of an overused phrase, but it's very, very true. Be the example that you wish to see in the world. And if you wish to see more understanding and compassion, then you get to have more understanding and compassion. That's how we bring more in.
Yeah, it's going back to self again. It's like it's analyzing now as your belief systems and going, is that true for me? And what's true for you may not be true for a family member or a friend. And you got to understand, it's having, again, that compassion and then going, oh, I see where you're at. I see you.
Right.
Because a lot of times it's just about them wanting to be seen and heard. It's like, I see, I understand where you're at.
And that's just what we want, right? As human beings, we want to be acknowledged. We want to be heard. It doesn't mean that we need to be agreed with all the time, but we do want to be acknowledged and heard. So we hope that we can do that for others.
Yeah, and I think as we again, it's working on yourself. It's going back and doing the work on yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's all you have, is you. And no matter what any family member or any friend says, you are creating your reality. So you get to create what it is that you desire. And I understand that, loss is big, right? And it is a grieving process.
It is, absolutely.
That you're going to go through. And, even in the midst of that, there's huge losses going on right now. People are getting divorced. People are, losing these family members that they have been close to just because of a simple belief system. And it's about us coming back together, not dividing. So the world out there wants us to be divided. And they're doing a dang good job of it.
Right? How many different groups can you acknowledge out there? Men and women. And I mean, you can divide it and parse up humanity into so many itty bitty, tiny little microcosms of groups. But it's humanity. That's it.
We're all here together. And we can create more together than we can separately. So it's teaching us, and part of it is too, as we are divided off we are kind of dividing between 3D and 5D. And as we're dividing off into those, the new earth, we talk about the new earth, which is 5D dimensional energy. And I see it like splitting. We're in this process of doing this right now. So those that really aren't ready to move and ascend into that space, they're going to continue to experience more of that duality, more of that 3D reality, which is okay. That's perfectly fine. That's where they're at. It's okay for them to be there. It's okay for you not to be in the same space. You're focusing on you, though. You're going, what do I need to do as a soul, having a human experience? Where do I need to be? What are my thoughts? What are my beliefs? Because it can be easy to move through this.
And I think some of the difficulty is, or the way I see it, is that when someone that I have, it's not that they vibrated away from me, I vibrated away from them, really, is what it comes down to. They didn't move, they didn't change, they didn't shift, I did. And in that split, right, you're going to end up with the 3D groups, and you're going to end up with the 4D groups, and you're going to end up with the 5D groups. 3D people cannot even perceive the 5D people. It's like we are not even in existence to them. And yet, for us that are moving towards the 5D, we can perceive all of them. And sometimes that makes it more difficult and more sad if we're not doing our internal work, because we can still see all the struggle. We can see everything they're all going through, and we can have great empathy for it. They can't even perceive what we are going through or what we're experiencing or what we're trying to create.
Well, and I think you hit a good point there, because the empathy part of it is like we need to be able to empathize with these people and where they're at, and that there's nothing wrong with where they're at. You know, this is the fear that they're living in, but you don't have to live in that fear. And you can, you know, it's coming from the heart, right? It's like heartfelt and going, I hear you, I feel you, I see you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. I wish you peace and joy. When you think about someone that has disagreed with you or argued with you or just flat out is being obstinate, just think in your head, think in your heart, I wish you peace and joy. Right? You're not wishing for them to come along. You're not wishing for them to change, because that's not going to happen right now. Just wish them peace and joy on their journey.
And it's all an experience too. So you're looking at it from an experience perspective and going, well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
So without that experience, who would I be?
Right.
And so you're thinking that experience every time that something happens, because you can look at it and go, wow, without that experience, I wouldn't have learned X, Y, Z, right? I wouldn't be to where I'm at right now. So thank you. It's always that gratitude, going back to gratitude. We talk about this in, you know, my groups all the time. It's like, what gratitude practice are you doing? Because it's all about grace, and we're creating in the space of grace. So even though this is happening, what do I get to take from it? There's always an experience. And you got to remember, we are a spiritual being having an earthly experience. They're all experiences.
And when I think we talked about this earlier today, if you regret any of your experiences, your encounters, your relationships of the past, then you're regretting who you are now, because those experiences created who you are. And you are a wonderful, fantastic, spectacular being. Never regret any part of you. Therefore, you cannot regret the past, because it's what made you into who you are, and you are fantastic.
Yeah, part of the spiritual awakening is waking up to the amazing, amazing being that you are. You are perfect, just the way you are. And we've been trained, we've been taught that there's something wrong with us, and there's not.
Right? Because we're the weird ones.
Right.
We're the weird ones that don't understand, that don't see things the way it should be seen, that don't conform to the way that we're taught to conform. So do this practice. I want you to stand in front of the mirror, and I want you to look at yourself. Look at yourself deep in your eyes. Stare deeply into your eyes, and I want you to say to yourself, I am fantastic. That's it.
And I tell my clients to do the same thing. Look in the mirror and say, what amazing things are we going to do today?
right? Because that's how we're going to make it better, by acknowledging the greatness, by acknowledging all of the power and the ideas and the creativity that we have going on within us. It's really neat.
It's really, really awesome.
I know, it's super fun. Can I share with them about the fluoride thing that I learned?
Oh yeah, I love that.
Okay, so this is slightly off topic, but Spirit just brought this to me recently. So we all know that fluoride is very detrimental to your body. It calcifies the pineal gland in your brain, and it separates you from source. Okay, it separates you from your higher self, from your spirit, from your God, from whatever, however you want to say it. It separates you. It breaks that higher connection. So that's one of the main ingredients in public water, fluoride. Okay, it also makes you very compliant. So now you see why people are really having a hard time waking up, because they're chemically induced into compliance. But this is the part that I found really interesting. Chlorine is the second largest ingredient in our water supply. Chlorine separates you from Mother Earth. Did you know this? I found this so fascinating when my guides brought this information to me. So if you are separated from above and you are separated from below, now imagine how lost and free-floating and disconnected you will be. It is so hard to have empathy and engagement and real true connection with others when we are not connected to our ground and we are not connected to our heaven. You can't bring heaven to earth. That's what we're here to do. That's what 5D literally is, bringing heaven to earth. Okay? Living and experiencing heaven on earth right now. And if you're disconnected on the top and disconnected on the bottom, how is that going to happen?
Every time you say that, I see like my head running around one way and my legs going the other way, and then there's this middle part going, where am I supposed to go?
Just sort of floating around.
I think we all feel like that at some point, going, right? Where are we supposed to be? What are we doing? Because we are separated. I think that is so much of it. And us, people say all the time, well, I don't know what my purpose is, right? And if you're not connected, think about it. Not being connected to Earth, to Mother Gaia, which is our sustainability. Right. And then we're not connected to spirit. It's like, whoa, no wonder we're flanching around going, where do I belong? What am I supposed to be doing? Right? What's my purpose?
No wonder there's so much anxiety and there's so much uncertainty and fear around. Yeah. Because we don't have that stability in our lives, in our beings anymore.
Yeah, totally.
So there's a couple of ways. I'll just give you a couple quick ways that you can start to reduce that. One is actually a chemical detox. We can do that. Come to my office. It's not hard. It takes a little bit of time, a couple months, not hard. But you can start really simple at home too. Distilled water. Distilled water will start to dissolve those chemicals and those bonds from your body and flush them out through the kidneys.
This is interesting because I've heard people when I say, oh, I drink distilled water, and they go, that's not good for you. So where did that come from?
Right.
Because people say, well, why are you drinking distilled water? That's not supposed to be good for you.
Correct. It's not, but it's just H's, T's, and O's. That's all it is. There's nothing else in it. All of the other types of water have synthetic minerals in them, which means potentially chloride and fluorine.
So what about because you see spring water and purified water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So which is better?
Neither. Okay,
that was
so so spring water is still synthetic. There are very, very few clean, natural springs around, right? When you see spring water in a bottle, it pretty much is tap water. Okay. It's tap water in a bottle. There's nothing special about it, okay? It may have one time been a spring, but it's not. It's a tap now. And it's as contaminated as anything else. Tap water's not a good idea. There's too many chemicals in it. There's even pharmaceuticals in it. And if you want to go to the ewg.org, you can find out exactly what's in the tap water in your zip code. It's crazy cool. They've tested them all over the country. It's really neat. So tap water is not really an option. Spring water, nothing better than tap water. Filtered water, if you get it in a bottle or if you filter it yourself, you're still not filtering everything out. Fluoride is not filtered out of filtered water. There's only two machines that I know of that can filter fluoride out of water. One is a Berkey and one is distilling the water or having a reverse osmosis system. So then that leads us to distilled water. And if you want to take it one step further, you can do structured water, which is really fascinating, cool. We should do a little video on structured water at some point. Yeah. But distilled water, I say that one because it's the easiest. It's available in all the grocery stores. You don't have to do anything special to it. You have to take an extra step to create structured water. But distilled water is nature's greatest cleanser. It is slightly acidic, so it actually dissolves, which is what we want it to do. If fluoride and chlorine calcify, right, they're hard minerals. We want to dissolve those hardness things, those chemicals out of our body, and distilled water is the way to do it.
That's awesome. That's great information. I know we got a little bit off subject,
We did.
But it kind of goes that way. So, but you can see too, it kind of flows back into why a lot of people are experiencing not wanting to shift.
Yeah.
Because they're so controlled by the pineal. I mean, your pineal gland is everything that's opening you up to awakening. And if we've got these chemicals that are keeping us from awakening, yeah, that and media, and you add all the components together and you can see where your friends and family are they're stuck, basically. So, yeah.
Side effect is it will, if you drink distilled water, it'll lower your cholesterol. Extra bonus.
Hey, bonus. I like that. So we hope you enjoyed the information today. If you have questions, please post them and we will get to respond to any of your questions, right?
Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to click the little bell to get your notifications so that next week or later this week when we come out with another video, you are the first to be announced, the first to be aware.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your day. See you soon.